Hey there folks, and welcome back for another video. And today we are going to discuss a subject that's been floating around a lot recently, and that is soap care, how to care for your soap. Now this is not an anti-bloom video. We will touch on that, but this is not about blooming or not blooming. The cases on that has been made, and you guys can always and should always do what's best for your particular situation. The information is out there to use as you see fit. The first piece of advice I have with respect to your soaps is how you store them. And best case, I think, for soaps is just store them at room temperature in your home. Avoid extreme heat, like outside or in a window that gets a lot of sunlight that maybe gets super hot, or extreme cold. I think it's best case that you just store them in normal room temperature of your home, and they should be fine. Secondly, let's talk a little bit about what you do when you're loading your soaps. Again, I'm not a big fan of putting a lot of water in the container here. One of the reasons I'm not a fan is sometimes water can get under the soap, as we have discussed previously. If you put a lot of water on top, it's possible to get underneath the soap. So I don't like to do that. However, if you do, some people like to turn them upside down and put them on a grate or something so they can drain out. It would be best if it's on some sort of grate or mesh type scenarios where it had room to still sort of breathe, and not just like right on a sink that's covered like that. That's not going to do very much. The gravity will of course help the water get out that's in there, but if you are going to put it upside down, I say have it on some sort of grate. That way it can still get some air and so forth. I personally I keep mine, I just put it in the windowsill with the top off, and I'll keep it like that the entire day, and usually by the time I get home it's dry. Now in my particular method, I do not put a lot of water in my soap, so it doesn't really take that long to dry out. That said, let's take a brief moment and visit with LeeRoy and Lexi. And sorry to put this in the middle of a soap care video, but I get a lot of people who are asking about LeeRoy and Lexi. So here is Lexi now. She's a year old. She is a Chorky, a mix between a Chihuahua and a Yorkie. And LeeRoy now, big boy LeeRoy, is 2 years old. And these dogs, as you can see, rarely leave my side. They are as loyal can be. And I smell great, which is why Lexi always licks me. And they both have been fantastic dogs. They're both in excellent health. In fact, they both just recently got their shots. LeeRoy is 12 pounds, which is right where he should be. And Lexi is 3.2 pounds, I think. And that's her full-grown size. So, two excellent. What do you say about that, LeeRoy? You're not sure what's going on here, are you? Anyway, two excellent dogs. And here they are visiting with you guys again. All right. Now, back on track with the soap. The soap. So for me, I don't get a lot of water in my soap, so I just leave it sitting on the windowsill. It airs out. My particular method is I get my brush wet, I squeeze the water out, and it is damp but not super wet. There's not water swinging around in my puck when I'm loading. So for me, it really doesn't take that much. I don't even need to load it or let it dry out for a full 24 hours. If you're using that Marco method where you're slinging water all over the place in here, or if you are blooming inside your container, then you probably want to let it air out longer than that. Here's what I would say about water and soap. During the shave, water is your soap's friend. After the shave, it is your soap's arch enemy. All right? And that is to say, once the shave is done, that water and that soap should be separated, period. It needs to air out. I can't emphasize that enough. Everyone now says it's common sense, but like I said before in my other videos, everyone was blooming and carrying on, oh, it won't hurt anything. There was very little emphasis on airing it out until recently when these things have been aired. So no matter what you do, make sure you're airing it out. Now, the next thing is there's been questions about, even if you load without a lot of water, sometimes you'll get lather, or some people call it proto-lather, that remains in your puck. Sometimes I'll leave it, sometimes I don't. I do not rinse my tub out because, again, I don't like to put a lot of water in there. I have done that in the past. I don't do it anymore because I just don't think it's great for my soap. What I do is, if I feel it's an excessive amount of lather left over, I'll just put my finger in there, scoop it out. All right, it's my soap. It's going to go on my face. My hands are clean. I have just taken a shower. I've just washed my face. I'm constantly messing around with soap, so my hands are going to be clean. I would just scoop it out of the container, and it should be good enough. If you want to, you could use a washcloth or something like that to remove it if you want to, or you can rinse it. Again, I don't recommend really rinsing it because I think you're likely to get more water in there than you really need, but that is in fact up to you. Once again, the more water you put into this container, the longer you should probably leave it out to dry. And that, again, should be common sense, but it has not been emphasized until I really started raising this issue. So my personal technique is not to get a lot of water in the container in the first place, and you don't really have to worry about it. By the end of the workday, you can cap it off and put it away. Now, one other thing that I would like to mention. There are soaps like Martin de Condre, and when you get this soap and you buy it, in the box, it tells you to take the lid off and leave it off. They don't even recommend that you put it on. The lid for Martin de Condre is for travel, according to Martin de Condre. I still put the lid on. Why? A couple of reasons. Because I don't want dust and contaminants in the air to be settling on top of my soap, my expensive soap, $60 soap, whatever it is. And two, I don't have a scientific basis for this, but just based on experience with other scented things, it seems that when you leave their cap off, like even a candle, for example, let's use candle as an example. When you take the cap off a candle, it's very fragrant at first, but even if you don't burn it, if you leave that candle out with the top off, a month, 2 months later, there's not much scent to it. It's all gone for whatever reason, and that just tends to happen with things. And maybe it's just because the surface, something has happened and it's lost it at the surface. But when you burn it, it'll sort of rekindle it and the scent will come back. That's entirely possible. However, I don't like to leave the cap off things other than for them to dry. If you want to, feel free to do so. But when my soap dries off, I'm going to put the lid back on simply because I don't want contaminants in there. And I want it to be nice and fresh for my next shape. So there are my tips for how to care for your soaps. I hope this is helpful. And again, it's really up to you. But the thing that I can't emphasize enough is to make sure they air out. If you do that, you're going to be in good shape. And again, the more water you put in, the longer it needs to air out. If you use that sort of as a rule of thumb, you should be okay. Thanks as always for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Until next time, let's make America shave again.